Okay, let's talk about dogs on a leash. It's funny. I just said dogs on a leash, and there was a dog that just barked. Synchronicity. So, as I started to do psychedelics, and as I started to, develop more compassion for other beings, right? And as I started to microdose and take it into daily life, one of the things that always bothered me is seeing dogs on a leash. Okay, that really bothered me. Because I would see them, and they're constantly trying to get out of the leash, constantly trying to get out of the leash, right? They're constantly, and it's like I put myself in the shoes of that dog. Would I be really happy doing that? Because you don't have to even put yourself in the shoe of a dog. Just imagine that you were on a leash as a human being. I mean, you kind of are. I mean, people in society are. Okay, but it's just a simple example. Like here, winters in Canada are absolutely brutal. It really feels like prison. It's minus 20 every day, and it's well, depending where you live. But I live in Ottawa. Ottawa is very cold. But most of Canada is cold, except for Vancouver. But it does feel kind of like a prison. You're bound to indoors. It's just way too cold. But that's just one example. But I mean, really, most people are on a leash. Civilization is domestic. Humans are domesticated. We're so out of touch with nature, and so that's why we have so much anxiety and depression and all kinds of epidemics, because human beings are on a leash. They're on a leash. The financial leash, the banking institutions, and all the military and the governments. Human beings are on a leash. They are on a leash. Okay, and it really makes sense why we're so disease stricken. And so we project our state of affairs on other beings, such as dogs. And so we take them in, we want to be with them, we want to domesticate them just like we domesticated ourselves. So we domesticate them, we breed them, and then we put them on leashes. Okay, and often when I go out in nature somewhere, really nature, away from the city, and I see the dog owners, and they leave the dogs unleashed. And a lot of times, as soon as I'm there, I see the owner reaching for the leash, because it's still illegal to do that. I see the owner reaching for the leash and talking to their dog to come back so they can leash them, because again, what if the dog comes and bites me or whatever and blah blah blah, right? And then they're in trouble. So I anticipate this, so I always shout at the owner from far. I'm like, no, keep him off the leash. I just always say, keep him off the leash. Let the dog breathe, let the dog run. I mean, they love to run. They're wild animals. I mean, they're the grandchildren of wolves. Wild animals love to run, love to, they're very, very energetic, and they're just, I mean, dogs are amazing. So we are projecting our own state of imprisonment on other beings, other sentient beings. Dogs happen to be the most obvious example. Now, the compassionate part of me says, this is really wrong to just leash dogs. Why don't we just let them be? Why are we projecting our own imprisonment on other sentient beings? Then there's the other part, the wiser part, that the marriage of wisdom and compassion. And the wisdom looks at the dog in a leash and says, karma. What I mean, that the consciousness that is in that dog on a leash must have done the same thing to another sentient being, must have put that other sentient being in some kind of an imprisoning situation. And now that sentient being has to experience that. They have to experience this experience of constantly being leashed in. And I mean, I see dogs from the window when I walk by like houses. They like, as soon as they see you, they want to, like this guy here, this dog here. Every time I walk by, the dog just gets excited. It's not that the dog doesn't want to hurt me. Actually, the dog wants to come play with me, but they're behind the fence. Okay, it must kind of suck. Think about it. Sure, you love your owner and the owner takes care of you and feeds you, etc. Right? There's that part of it. There's that side of it. But I've got to say, that's kind of a frustrating life if I was a dog. It's kind of like living in civilization is also frustrating. Sure, you're kind of taken care of in a way, right? If you live somewhere, you have a welfare system, and they kind of give you a little bit of money if you're at a job, but it's still very frustrating. You still feel like you're imprisoned. You're in some kind of a prison for your mind. And I must say that if I was a dog, I would probably still be largely frustrated with these nice moments with my owner, with these loving moments, and still there's this nice moments in it. Kind of like when your parents annoy you, but you have those nice moments, sit down for dinner, everybody gets along for 10 minutes or so, and then it's back to war. It's kind of like that, same thing. So I think the dog, same thing. Like, you love your owner, you get these nice moments, but I think it's largely frustrating. Okay, it really is. You guys know what I'm talking about. Being in civilization is very frustrating. Being domesticated, same thing with the dogs. But then that's sort of the compassionate part in me. But then the wiser part says, well, karma. I mean, the frustration that consciousness in that particular dog, in this particular incarnation, that dog is experiencing, they must have also done that same thing to another sentient being, maybe in a different realm altogether. Not even as human dog, not even, it's just different altogether. And now they're coming back here and they have to experience the bittersweetness of being, because it's a bittersweet, you can think of it as a bittersweet deal for the dog. I really think it's a bittersweet deal. Again, there's that sweetness of loving your owner, of having somebody taking care of you, and having the security and all. But then there's also the bitterness of being domesticated, of just not being free, which for me personally, I would rather experience a short life of freedom than a long life of feeling imprisoned, me personally. So I think it's a bittersweet deal for the dog to go through this experience of having to be leashed, of having to be restricted. I mean, they're largely restricted. I mean, we are largely restricted. So any sentient being that we domesticate is going to have to experience what we're experiencing, which is right now being a human, it's a bittersweet deal. It's also a bittersweet deal. Okay, you might argue it's more bitter, you might argue it's more sweet. I tend to think it's more of a bitter deal, being a human being in this day and age. It's more on the bitter side, but I also think that you could make it really sweet. Like, I make my life pretty sweet. I live a pretty sweet life. Okay, and I think we live in a type of world where the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, in every sense of the word. Rich doesn't have to be financial richness. It could just be well-being and happiness. And I think, speaking for myself, I am constantly creating a very sweet, God bless, a very sweet life for myself. Okay? But I think largely the experience of an average human being nowadays is bitter. It's mostly bitter. And disease and sickness is just an indication of that. So I think the same thing for dogs. Most of the dogs living with us are having, for the most part, a bitter deal. Okay, and they don't have the same conscious capacities. Like, human beings, we're conscious, right? We're higher up on the evolution ladder. Okay, animals are in the lower realms. We're higher up in the evolution ladder. So then we could use our minds to consciously create a sweet reality. Animals can't really do that. They're just kind of stuck with whatever they're in. And I think for the most part, it's a bitter deal for the dogs. That's just my opinion. I'm just trying to be as objective as I can. I'm really trying to put myself in the shoes of a dog. I'm really trying to be a dog. And if I am biologically wired to be wild, and all my ancestors and my DNA and the information in it is biologically wired to be wild, and I see the dogs when I'm out in nature unleashed, they're so happy. Oh my God, they're so happy. Now, if I am wired like that biologically, and then you put me in a little house and I'm basically anytime I get out of the house to breathe some fresh air, I'm leashed up. Yeah, I think that I'm not getting a good deal. That's my opinion. What do you guys think? Let me know. I don't think that's a very good deal. I think I'm getting a good deal, but at the same time, wisdom speaks, and wisdom says karma, that consciousness that is incarnating as that dog certainly laid a bitter deal on someone else, another sentient being. Does not have to be a human animal relationship at all, and now they have to experience what they have put another sentient being through, if you will. Okay, so it's one of those things that really make you think. Okay, I want to thank all the Patreons for supporting this channel. You guys are awesome. You guys are amazing, and you're certainly part of the sweet life that I'm creating. I mean, you're helping me financially and out of your generosity, and I'm pretty sure we'll be able to do this full time. I know more of you guys are going to pledge your support with as little as $2 a month, a cup of tea a month, right? So I want to thank you guys. I love you all. If you'd like to pledge your support, the link is in the description for the Patreon. And until next time, may the force be with you.